diversion. Did you hear the one about the church that everyone in the congregation showed up 3 hours early? That's right, they suffer from premature congregation. Anyway, that occurred to me just today at church. Anyway, point was, totally diverted. So, first things first, I'm Scottish. Second thing, I'm a scientist. Third thing, I didn't always live in Denmark. I've only been here 2 years, and for 20 wonderful, magnificent years, I lived in Dundee, which if you haven't heard of, well, you're probably lucky. Point is, I grew up in Edinburgh, which everybody has heard of. Everyone who's ever heard of Scotland goes, ooh, I went to Edinburgh, it was gorgeous. Yes, but it's expensive and it's infested with tourists, because all of you guys are busy looking at it. Anyway, that's not the point of my statement. So, anyway, I told my friends that I was going to Dundee to get my PhD, which I did, and that they had some important information for me. They said, first, did you know that Dundee is the stabbing capital with knives? This is very, very important. They made that distinction because Glasgow is the stabbing capital of the UK with every other object in the toolkit. If it has a point, they will put it in you. Oh yes, I mean, screwdrivers, Stanley knives, anything, you know, anything's fair game if you're Glaswegian. Dundonians, they have standards. So when I went to Dundee, and yes, I settled in, and it seemed like a nice enough place. But, I also thought that first, Dundee was the friendliest place ever, because all I could see in the city centre was all these big sisters who were so helpful, carting their little brothers or sisters around the place. Until I realised there's no such thing as a big sister in Dundee. They're all the mothers. It's a teenage pregnancy capital. Anyway, but that's not even the point of my story. Anyway, a great way to save money, because as I mentioned, I'm a scientist, so we don't exactly make the big bucks. Yes, we solve the big problems, use our gigantic brains to solve these problems, but do they reward us appropriately? No, that money goes to professional footballers. Anyway, and I wish I was joking about that. Hello, Beckham? Anyone? So we lived in some of the nastiest neighborhoods in Dundee. In fact, people told us explicitly where we shouldn't live, and then we went and lived there because the rent was low, low, low. And we lived in a multi-story tenement, which, yes, the warning signs were there. They actually had a concierge, and you'd think that sounds fancy. It isn't. It's basically a man sitting in a little armored booth to make sure that only the people who belong there get in. And this was a big warning sign, and never leave your doors unlocked, unlike Denmark. And so one time when me and my girlfriend, who then became my wife, who is my wife, incidentally, we came back from the cinema, we got past the concierge, who was like, hey, fair enough, let us through. We pressed the button for the elevator, ping! The door swings open. What are we greeted by but a man lying on the floor in a pool of blood, shouting angrily because he had been stabbed with a knife. Okay, standards, everybody. The point was, this was basically the local drug dealer's way of saying hello to the new drug dealer in the neighborhood. And yes, they stayed hello with their knives. And, the guy wasn't dead or anything. He was just really, really upset. But at that point, my girlfriend immediately said, we are so moving. I'm like, oh, but the rent. It's like, no, it was stabbed. It's like, drug dealers, they have a live and let live policy, unless you're the new kid on the block. Anyway, so then, you've heard the phrase, out of the frying pan into the fire. That's exactly what we did. We moved from one nasty neighborhood to a different nasty neighborhood. You'd think we would have learned, but no. We moved to a flat. Oh yes, so moving up in the world. No tenement for us. First floor, yeah. And we thought it was really weird, one of our neighbors, the father of the family, he was always there. And he always had, if we need to borrow a screwdriver, a hammer, any kind of tool, he was always the first guy. He had it. Phillips, sorry. He had it. And we thought, okay, is this guy like MacGyver or something? But then we also thought to ourselves, isn't it weird that every evening, strangely, the police drop on by and just check in? It's like, is Nigel there? And it's like, sure enough, yeah, hey, Nigel, okay, see you tomorrow. I'm like, what is that about? It turned out it was a burglar on house arrest. So no wonder he had loads of tools. They had to make sure that he was there, as opposed to out breaking into houses with his wonderful array of tools. And he was so polite. But I mean, yes, we lived in a house of headbangers. That because the mother of the next flat along, she spent most of her time shouting at her daughters, and because we said hello, good morning, then she clearly thought we were going to abduct her daughters because we were being so nice to them. And as a result, once again, we are moving. Okay. So we moved, and we moved, and we moved, and we moved. We actually moved to some comparatively nice places. But then eventually, we decided to invest in an actual flat of our very, very own. And it was in the same neighborhood. And amongst other things, they had a chemist, which was also the local methadone clinic. And yes, it is great that they're working on recovering. But I swear, these methadone addicts, it was like every morning, the pharmacy would open at 8 o'clock or whatever, and I would be heading to my bus. And the addicts, it was almost like they were putting on a little show for us. And, every single day, it was almost like the same. And I had visions of like an art director beforehand going, okay, everybody, focus, know your places. Okay, Steve, now you have the can of energy drink. He's like, yes, okay. So, Cynthia, you're going to shout indecipherably at the guy over there, okay? And Rupert, you're going to wet yourself. Yes, it's your turn. I mean, genuinely, every single time I walked past, it was the same. It was always a chug energy drink. It was like whoosh every single day. But once again, live and let live. I mean, to me, it was perfectly normal. But it seemed so believable to me that there was an art director, because it was. Every single time I walked past, I'd think, no, today will be normal. Today will be normal. Every single time. Anyway. But I don't recommend living there. And you guys have been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Andrew Ferenbach, come out.